romantically involved with Dumb and Dumber co-star Lauren Holly.
Never meet your heroes. It's an age-old warning, and for Dave Chappelle, meeting Jim Carrey was the ultimate proof of why. Recently, Chappelle's candid reflections on Carrey went viral, not for the laughs, but for their brutal honesty about what Jim was actually like behind the scenes. It's a side of the story that shifts everything we thought we knew about Hollywood's funniest man. From a Volkswagen to the world stage. If you ask anyone to name the most talented physical comedian in history, the answer is almost always Jim Carrey. It wasn't just the jokes, it was the way his entire body became the punchline. But that brilliance came from a place of survival. Born James Eugene Carrey in Ontario, Canada, his early life was defined by a steady Catholic upbringing that quickly spiraled into instability. By the time he was a teenager, his family had lost their home, forcing them to live out of a Volkswagen van and a tent. Jim and his brother worked grueling 8-hour overnight shifts as janitors just to keep a roof over their heads. By 16, Jim dropped out of school entirely. He wasn't just chasing a dream, he was running away from a life that could have easily ended in a steel mill. He carried the desperation with him to the stage, fueled by a need to become anyone else. The brutal lessons of Yuck Yucks. In 1977, a 15-year-old Jim stepped onto the stage at Yuck Yucks in Toronto, wearing a polyester leisure suit sewn by his mother. It was a disaster. The audience, hungry for edgy humor, tore his safe impressions apart. He was booed off, and the doubt lingered for years. But by 1979, the boy had become a man. He returned to the same club with a sharpened act and a new wave energy that couldn't be ignored. By 19, he was opening for Rodney Dangerfield, who saw the raw, unpredictable power Jim possessed. The 1990s were an explosion. Ace Ventura, The Mask, and Dumb and Dumber didn't just make him a star, they made him a global phenomenon. Yet, even at the height of his rubber-face fame, Jim was already looking for something deeper. Performances in The Truman Show and Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind proved he wasn't just a clown, he was an artist capable of profound, quiet weight. The Ace of Hearts, the King of Solitude. Behind the electric energy, Carrey's personal life followed a turbulent pattern. In 1993, as his career skyrocketed, his marriage to Melissa Wolmer collapsed. Wolmer later suggested that as Jim stepped into the role of Ace Ventura, he also stepped into a new version of himself, one that wanted to experience success without the ties of his old life. His subsequent marriage to co-star Lauren Holly lasted less than a year, bucking under the suffocating pressure of the paparazzi. Whether it was his high-profile romance with Renee Zellweger or his 5-year relationship with Jenny McCarthy, a recurring theme emerged, a deep need for closeness that could suddenly shift into a desperate need for distance. Tragedy struck in 2015 with the passing of Catriona White. The aftermath was a messy, public legal battle with her family that stripped away his privacy and left a permanent mark on his public image. Though the case was eventually dismissed, the funniest man in the world seemed further away than ever. The glitch in the Matrix. In recent years, Jim Carrey has moved into a space that feels far removed from Hollywood. He turned to painting as therapy, but even his art became a lightning rod for controversy. His pointed, political portraits of figures like Mark Zuckerberg and Donald Trump split the public, proving he was still willing to step into uncomfortable territory. This unpredictability extended to his career choices. After filming Kick-Ass 2, he publicly withdrew his support for the film following the Sandy Hook tragedy, citing its level of violence. He also became a vocal, controversial figure in the vaccine debate alongside Jenny McCarthy, a move that drew intense fire from the scientific community. Perhaps the most jarring moment came at the 51st Caesar Film Awards. When Jim appeared, the internet erupted with theories that he had been replaced by a body double or was wearing a prosthetic mask. The truth was simpler and more human, he had simply aged. The world wasn't reacting to a trick, they were reacting to the fact that Jim no longer looked like the character they had frozen in their minds. Dave Chappelle's strange encounter. The most revealing story of Carrey's intensity comes from Dave Chappelle. Chappelle, who usually moves on his own terms, was excited to meet Jim on the set of Man on the Moon. The meeting was brokered by the legendary Norm Macdonald. But when Chappelle arrived, Jim Carrey was nowhere to be found. Instead, there was Andy Kaufman. Carrey was so deep into his method that he refused to drop the character for even a second. The crew, the director, and the actors all had to play along, addressing him only as Andy. Chappelle spent an entire afternoon talking to a ghost. He later recalled the frustration of looking directly at Jim Carrey, knowing it was Jim, but being forced to participate in a reality that didn't feel real. Carrey would later admit that during that production, Jim Carrey as a person ceased to exist. He had lost himself to the role. For Chappelle, it wasn't a brilliant artistic display, it was a disappointing encounter with a man who had gone so far into a character that he couldn't come back out to meet a peer. The legacy of a shapeshifter. From sleeping in a tent to becoming the highest paid actor in the world, Jim Carrey's journey is one of extreme highs and haunting lows. He is a man who spent his life changing his face to make us laugh, only to realize that in the process, he may have lost track of his own. Whether he is playing Dr. Robotnik or painting in his studio, Jim Carrey remains one of the most complex figures in entertainment, a man searching for stillness in a life built on chaos. What is your favorite Jim Carrey movie of all time? Does knowing the man behind the mask change how you see his performances? Let us know in the comments below. For more deep dives into the lives of your favorite icons, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to hit that bell notification so you never miss an update on the stories that shaped Hollywood.